Good
Good
morning.
morning. Welcome to Jung at Harp, episode number 160. Every Little Soul Must Shine. I'm Kathleen Wiley, a Jungian Psychoanalyst in North Carolina, and I am here with Deborah Henson-Conant, a composer, a mentor, a creative. We both play the harp, and that's why we call this Jung at Harp. Almost every week, we come together to have a conversation about a question that's bubbling up for us and in the air. We don't start with answers, we start with questions, and we see what emerges through the art of conversation with one another and with you. So if you're joining us live, hopefully the platform that you are viewing on will allow you to add in comments that we then can see and bring into our dialogue. So, DHC, do you want to start with Every Little Soul Must Shine? Because I know this is a phrase in a song that you wrote.
Well, I didn't write it. It was a song that I sang as a
Ah,
child,
uh-huh.
and I can sing it in a minute. But the chorus, it's about this rabbit who's he's falling apart in his life. But the chorus is always like, "Every little soul must shine, shine. Every little soul must shine," and it's such a
Mm,
beautiful thought. And the reason that I was thinking about it this week was because I'm thinking about shifting. Um, Sharing performance in a certain way that I haven't for a long time, and thinking about going into situations where I might feel a little bit uncomfortable, and I was realizing I was feeling uncomfortable about it, and then realized, one of my coaches said, "Look, this is just a different situation. You are bringing your light into that." And for
mhm,
many years, I've been thinking, why am I alive? What is it? What is my purpose? And came up with a short phrase for myself, which is, I'm waking up every day. I live every day to step out of my own darkness with a light that illuminates in others.
mm,
And certainly as a composer and as a coach, that is what I'm doing. I'm creating work that will illuminate in others, and I am bringing out that illumination in others. But also as a performer, there is a light that comes on in others when there is a performance, when someone is expressing themselves genuinely. I think it calls out to that shining
mhm,
soul in everybody. But of course, I'm always dealing with things that stop me from feeling completely free to share. And it's one of the reasons I love to be on stage, because when I'm on a stage, for some reason, all of that falls away. It feels like a
mm,
safe place. It feels like the place where it was created for that. And so I don't have to ask for permission. But in everyday life, it can feel to dance across the street, or to give voice and give physicalness to the joy or the light that is within, can be feel a little bit weird.
mhm,
And you were talking ahead of time. Oh, and we were also talking about it in terms of, also shine the light that you've been given, whoever it is
mhm,
that you are. Your job is to bring that light into whatever situation that you're in, and not to judge it, and not to damp it down. But you were talking about how that does get damped down, and how that does, like, so for example, here's in the challenge. I'm doing a challenge right now that's a improv challenge for harpists, and it's very simple. I'm teaching them how to play from a chord progression, and the principle is very simple. It is, you play the first letter of a sentence. Don't get caught anywhere. Don't get caught. And it's really just like, don't get caught anywhere. Don't get caught. And it teaches you a very powerful progression. And then you just add on to that. This, did you see that little thumb come up? I wonder if that was a mental. Anyway, so and it was very simple. You then add a third above it, like maybe. So you start to realize that you can improvise from something very, very simple. You don't have to know anything about music even to improvise. But one person was struggling with it because she was stopping the video and trying to get every single note that I was playing.
mm,
She was trying to find the way I was doing it so that she could do it that way. When in fact, the power of the whole exercise and the game is that you end up doing it the way that works for you and your hands. and your instrument and the technical level you are at, and your special skills. You know, if you're a singer, you sing with it. If you're a dancer, somehow you dance with it. You bring your, if you're a storyteller, you add a story to it. You shine your light into this simple thing. But she was thinking she had to get it right. And I think that that stops me sometimes too. So, for example, if I think, I, if I'm going to be around people who have great hair and they, you know, they have their hair done every week, like they're going to see that like my hair is whatever, you know, like I get in these crazy things that shut me down that have nothing to do with the light that I am shining. And I'm thinking that I am going to be shut down for some reason, that my light is not going to be seen. And, you know, my light, my lampshade or something is going to be wrong.
Mm.
And therefore, I don't turn the light on. So, Miss Kathleen, why, why, why?
Well, you know, what you're talking about is really the whole pursuit of individuation, which is to be able to be the self that we are, to live into the true self that we were born to be. One of my favorite quotes from Jung is he says, "In the final analysis, our life counts for something only because of the essential we embody. And if we do not embody that, then life is wasted." So the essential that we embody is what we're using the metaphor of light to talk about. It's the essence of our own being, that light. And you know, unfortunately, developmentally, sometimes that gets shut down. And Erik Erikson was a psychoanalyst who developed a psychosocial stages of development. And when I say he developed it, this is what he observed. And what he observed is that from the age of 2 to 4, the psychosocial stage, meaning what emerged in psyche in relationship to other people and the environment, was either a
Mhm.
sense of autonomy, that one has a self, that and self-agency and self-mastery, and that's a good thing, or shame. One is bad. And
Mhm.
and when we feel that sense of toxic shame, then the effect of the toxic shame is that our autonomy, our own agency and mastery, thus self-expression and self-movement, is shut down. We're frozen. We get paralyzed. It's like the deer in the headlights. Um, or worst case, we get caught in our own, colluding with our own inner negative voices that oppress us and put us in a coffin, even though we're still alive. Um,
I
so,
hear you. And as you're saying this, I'm thinking, thus the imagery of the golden cage. I mean,
uh-huh.
I'm seeing that, I'm experienced that in myself, I'm sure, and I didn't know how to talk about it
Mhm.
outside of, you know, creating a musical that would have that. So yeah, this word toxic shame, is there
Mhm.
a non-toxic shame?
Well, part of, again, the whole thrust of Jungian analysis is to humanize the archetypal and instinctive energies. So, by that, I would say that there's a level of shame that's a very primitive affect that just overtakes us. I have felt that at times in my life where I felt shame in certain areas of my life
Mm.
where it just froze me. I couldn't even think or be present to what I was experiencing and or desiring in that area. That's different than a shame that has been humanized and mediated, where going into, let's just say, if I were going into, well, I, I I had an analysan once who came to my home for an appointment for some reason, and we were meeting on my lower porch. And I live in an older house on the lake that was built in the 70s, and it's a lake house. I mean, it's nothing fancy at all. And I can remember her saying, "Oh, I just love your little lake house." And she was well heeled and moneyed, and you know, had a house in a very prestigious neighborhood. And my lake house doesn't, that's not my lake house. And you know, I could chuckle about it, but in that moment I could feel that little tinge of, you know, I'm not as good as her in her mind. She's telling me that my autonomy, myself, isn't up to par with hers or her friends. And fortunately, because of my decades of analysis, that could come up and I could chuckle about it and just see it for what it was, which is her own need to be superior to defend against her insecurity.
Well,
So,
I'm fascinated by the fact that here you are in your home, and whatever your relationship to this person, and it seems to have centered around this one word, perchance, little.
mhm.
I love your little. And around this one word, all this dynamic is happening, in which there's a sense of one person having power and one person not having power. But that's happening really in your mind, because if it happened in her mind and you were oblivious to it, it wouldn't be impacting you, right?
Well, as a psychoanalyst, my job is not to be oblivious.
I got it. Right, right.
But to your point,
Hmm.
if there wasn't some part of me historically that judged me, or current part of me
Hmm.
that had my own inner judge around little as a
Hmm.
negative,
Mm.
less than, less power, then
Mm.
it wouldn't register emotionally. And so this again gets into Jung's theories of the complex, that, when someone says something and we end up feeling shame or guilt, then we have to take responsibility for what in me is shaming me and guilting me.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what
Yeah.
I'm hearing, first of all, is that w- something resonated in you. And it just, I mean, it shook, and it shook these walls closed in a way. Whether it was, whether she meant to share that, whether it was in the tone of her voice, whether it was not even in her mind, but it was in the tone of somebody else's voice, decades before. Like whatever it was, it shut you down. And your job is to go back to the you and bring you into this world, because what I'm getting is, I know this is going to sound cliched, but you are the only person who can bring your light into the world.
That's right.
And
That's right.
let's imagine that in the sunlight, there are all these different um, frequencies, which there probably are. And let's say that your frequency there is no other frequency like that. And the sun will not be, the light will not be what it can be without you. And so I see that we have that responsibility. And that's why I'm thinking, when we were talking about what to call this session, and it was between, you know, shine the light you have been given. I have this sense that each of us are here's your gift. Here's your thing that you get to bring into the world. This is what you get to bring to the party. And if you get shut down, you're not bringing that. But it also goes back to Mr. Rabbit, which I will sing in a moment, which is that every little soul must shine, no matter what
Mhm.
happens. Your ears are falling off, you're about to die, whatever. Still, that is the job of
Mhm.
every little soul. And it's,
Mhm.
it's interesting. It's interesting that that song also has that word little,
Mhm.
and yet that
Mhm.
idea of soul is so large.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, in our personal relationships, when things have a sting for us,
Mm.
then it usually means some part of us at some point in time bought into what they're saying, that's stinging us, some part of us agrees with them. And so if we can take responsibility for that, then we're able to relate to that, and then some organic processes will mediate it, will temper it, will dissipate it. And so then we can say, yeah, okay, so I don't have the diamonds that woman has, or I don't have this that they have. But you know what? I'm who I am. And this is my purpose for in life, and this is my light and what my light wants to express. And I often use the analogy that we're all like a ray of sunshine, and we're each an individual ray. And it takes
Right.
all of the
Yeah.
rays.
So as you were talking, and I was thinking about this diamond thing, so I don't like gems. I don't like cut stones. I never have. I mean, I like gems, but in their natural state. But what I was thinking when I was imagining, or anytime I'm imagining being around others who know something that I don't know, and I bring, let's say I bring these earrings, which
Mhm.
I don't know where I got them, whatever, or I bring something that I think is cool or wonderful. I think it's wonderful, and bringing it, and then in that moment of realizing that this is shameful, like this is not that great,
Mhm.
sort of like, I don't know, the moment of showing something that I've discovered, and the other person is like, "Oh yeah, well I can blah, 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 I could do this with it." And then I just feel like, "Oh man, I'm nothing."
Yeah, so then again, you have to take up where is that part of you that judges you as nothing because someone else does something different with it or has something different. We all have to transmute the collective psyche. I'm always telling my Nelsons, we not only have to transmute our own historical internalized feedback loops and beliefs, but we all inherit a whole backdrop from the collective and
Mm.
from the historical collective, the
Mhm.
unconscious legacy, but also from the outer world collective. So, there are outer world collective circles where if you don't do things a certain way, you don't fit. That's the reality of the collective. When I come back to my light, I have to say, do I really want to be in that collective? A lot of those collectives I don't want anything to do with because from they don't fit with my light. My light doesn't resonate with what goes on there. Now, does that mean I might not engage with some of the people there and our lights communicate in a way that's beneficial and actually enhances one another? I believe that can happen, but that doesn't mean the other group believes that can happen or the other person believes that can happen. So ultimately, we have to be integrous with ourselves. We have to live the integrity of the essence we are, and that's what it means to individuate. It doesn't mean we may not sometimes have pangs of insecurity or even pangs of shame or guilt, but it doesn't paralyze us. It doesn't stop us. It doesn't hijack us indefinitely, you know?
Well, part of what I'm hearing, and I want to bring Victoria up too, but I
Yeah.
want to say part of what I'm hearing is that we we are ourselves, and we also come with society.
Yeah.
Society comes with us, and part of what our job here is to shine that light that we are, because it gets lost otherwise.
Yeah.
And that light may be, because there's another word that keeps coming into my mind, especially when I'm on stage, is being an advocate for the audience,
Mhm.
for their self-expression, an advocate for self-expression in general, an advocate, and the academy is an advocate for the value of every single voice, and then helping people find out how to express that voice without thinking you have to do it the way someone else does it,
Mhm.
because that's when we can lose it, because we don't know, because every little soul must shine in its own way.
Mhm.
um anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but let me pull up Victoria. Thank you, Victoria. Who is saying, I like what I hear
Yeah.
is that taking responsibility
Yes.
could lead to self-healing. And that's part of what I was thinking, just this idea of responsibility, not just for bringing my voice into the world and shining, but responsibility for doing that within any, just doing it for others as well. But it's not to say like, hello, look at my light. It's better. But to feel like, okay, here's my light. Because I don't know. Help, Kathleen. I bet you have clarity on this.
Yeah, so I wanna say, I think, Victoria, you're absolutely right. If we become self-responsible, then healing happens, and another quote by Jung, he says, "Only that which is yourself heals you." That's a direct quote, "Only that which is yourself heals you." So, we have to take responsibility for ourselves. What then happens is if I show up with my light strong And I have mitigated, or my psyche has, with through the gift of grace, if we want to use that word, has mitigated toxic shame and guilt, then I show up with a light that warms other people. And that has a resonance that then will activate their light and warm up their own ability to tune into, wow, that resonates for me. I can do that too. And so, how do we change the world? We change the world by being the self we are and letting our light shine, because it has a ripple effect. Think about how light warms. That one ray of sunshine, if you step literally into that one ray of sunshine, you feel that warmth. It starts to activate your own cellular body and consciousness, literally. The same is true psychically. So when we each show up this week, and that includes Victoria and all those others who are listening, with our light, then it's like we bring our fires and we put them together, and then there's a bigger fire, or we all show up with our light and
Right.
that light and this light and this light, and then all of a sudden, there's this, we're all strengthened by it.
Right. We each see more in the illumination of others.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but I want to go back to, what does it mean to take responsibility? So, for example, does it mean that if I'm experiencing that I'm shutting myself down because I've got I've got feelings of shame or ideas in the past or something like that, does taking responsibility mean whatever I need to do to manage that, whatever I'm using to shut myself down with, so that I'm not shut down, but not also go out there in a way that I might get completely lambasted, and also not go out there in a way of saying, okay, everybody, this is how I am, and take it or leave it. But which could also be a light. I mean, I think what does taking responsibility actually mean, and what does it actually look like?
Well, for me, and from an analytic point of view, what taking self responsibility means is, first of all, really discerning, am I, with my ego consciousness, shutting myself down, or am I getting caught in an unconscious feedback loop or complex where I don't have a self to relate to it, which means I can't get free from it. So for me, self responsibility means turning within to say, okay, where is this coming from? And how am I, with my ego consciousness, colluding with it? What do I need to do to not collude with it? And for me, the not colluding with it, and from an analytic perspective, always means dialoguing with, okay, come on, Shaman, let's talk. What
Mm,
is this about? Where is this rooted? How old how
mm,
old is this part of me that feels shame? What
mm,
does this part of me need from me? How might this part of me move through that shame and be freed from it? If I take self responsibility and engage and build relationship to that energy in me, then how I move in the outer world will
mm,
manifest. I mean, it will emerge organically. We don't have to pull up over it with the big bully, or collapse underneath it, or try to become the chameleon who fits. We will be able to hear from our own light, okay, this is how I can move in this setting and have integrity. And this is how I can offer my light in a way that this group of people might feel it and experience it. You know, I always say we have to join with people where we are, but that doesn't mean we give up who we are. It
mm.
means we look at, how do I show up with my essence and speak to them in the language that they speak? And that isn't the obvious language. I tend to believe that people all want the same things. I go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We all want the physical needs met. We all want safety, which includes feeling emotionally safe, respected. We all want love and belonging. We all want self-esteem, and we all want to self-actualize. So if I show up in any setting with, okay, I'm here to be who I am, to keep a space that's safe for me, have a sense of love and belonging with myself, that I then create a space that's safe for other people where they can feel a sense of love and belonging with themselves, then I'm embodying my essence. That's it.
Mm.
That's it. It isn't about strategy from an analytic
Mhm.
perspective.
Mm. Beautiful. I wanna bring up what Victoria said, but I keep also thinking of Mr. Rabbit. So I'm just
Mhm.
gonna sing you Mr. Rabbit, because what I'm hearing in this, and so this comes out of the, call and response songs, which were really great for me as a child because I could learn, like, let's see, Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit. So that, the lead would sing that, and then I would sing back, Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit, sing Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit. Your ears are mighty long, your ears are mighty long. And then he would reply something that put it in context, like, yes, bless God, they're put on wrong. So, he would always kind of accept, yeah, that's right, that's what I'm like. And then he would sing, every little soul must shine, shine. 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 Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit,
Mhm.
your coat is mighty gray, your coat is mighty gray. Yes, bless God, it's made that way. Every little soul must shine, shine. Every little soul must shine, shine. So it goes on with this litany of everything that's wrong with this poor little rabbit. And then at the end, Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit, Mr. Rabbit, your eyes are mighty red, your eyes are mighty red. Yes, bless God, I'm almost dead. Every little soul must shine, shine. Every little soul must shine, shine. So even if this little old rabbit is, even when everything's falling apart, he still says, every little soul must shine, shine. Every little soul must shine, shine. Every little soul must shine, shine. Every little soul must shine, shine, shine.
Mhm.
And I get it. That's just a children's song. That's just a song that I sang as a child. Maybe it has no meaning, but the song, all the songs that, as a child that seemed to, they were just things I learned, continue to have meaning, continue to resonate, and continue to open up. And everything we're talking about, somehow this little rabbit, he
Mhm.
had all of this. He
Mhm.
had the ability to say, yep, everything's wrong with me, it's true, or that's just the way that I am. And you know what, you need to know, here's the light I bring to you, little girl. Every little soul is going to shine.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right.
mean, it's really beautiful, and while you pull up, I know we have some comments here on the side, but part of what he says is he doesn't rail against his long ears. He just says, "Yeah, that's the way they are. Yeah, that's the way I was made." And
Yeah.
so he doesn't get
Mm,
offended by your ears are all too long or your coat is gray. He doesn't get offended
mhm,
because somewhere there isn't shame. It's just this is the way I am. And so when we can come with that, this is the way I
mhm,
am. And for me, this
mm.
is part of accepting the limits of who we are. You know,
And is that part of I'll pull up, we've got
yeah.
some wonderful comments, here. For me, it is helpful, it says, that's Monica. I missed Victoria's second one. We'll do Monica, and then we'll come back up. It is helpful when others not only show their light, but
Mm,
also their insecurity and even their shame.
yes,
It is encouraging to me that light and shame can be there at the same
that's right.
time.
That's right.
Talk about that.
Well, the opposites always coexist. I mean, this is one of the basic principles of psyche, and it was a hermetic principle in alchemy that everything exists with its polar opposite. So,
Right, and here we have,
yeah,
Victoria saying being able to hold the
yes,
paradox is right. That's
yeah,
right, and I remember in theater them saying, "There are no contradictions in life, only
yeah,
paradoxes."
yeah, absolutely. So in that moment, I could feel any tinge of mediated and
Mhm,
depotentiated shame about not having as much money as someone else.
mhm.
Then in that moment, I could also feel, but you know what? This is my house and I love it. It's perfect for me.
Mm,
It's perfect for me. It might
mm.
not be perfect for someone else, but it's perfect for me. And so they do coexist. If we try to banish one, we banish the other. This is
Well,
this
yeah,
is this is what so much pop psychology does that's problematic
I
ultimately.
see.
It'll bite you in the butt sooner or later. You know, you can try and charge through it, you can try to blow it up, but the only way ultimately for healing is moving through it, because as you move through it consciously, then something changes.
Right, and rather than running away from it.
Yeah.
I also, as you were speaking, I was thinking, well, that woman actually might have loved the
She could
experience of being in your house, and yet
have.
we take it on, and I'm thinking that if I respond or react in a way of shutting myself down, I am actually, that is a selfish act of not letting someone have access to the light that I've been given.
Well, and you're also, speaking to the psychological dynamic of projection, which is that if we still have an unconscious charge, let's just say
Mm,
around autonomy versus shame, since that's what we're talking about. If
mm,
I still have an unconscious charge there, then if someone uses a trigger word or they have a trigger facial expression or tone of voice and that gets activated, then I'm immediately, or you're immediately filtering it through that trigger internally. And so then we really don't know what they mean. But what we know is what some part of us is saying. So again, this comes back to taking responsibility. And I see Victoria's second comment, if you want to pull that
yeah,
up.
I would love to.
It means owning the situation. Yeah, it means owning that, okay, this is going on inside of me. And yeah, so and so said this and that's what triggered it. But that doesn't mean they're responsible for it. Yeah.
I love this. I think taking responsibility owning the situation. If we fell into a hole, we need to dig ourselves out of that hole. But I was thinking for a minute, how much I loved being in situations where there was an echo around me, and I was thinking of, even as we are in that hole, of being like, so everyone, here's what the hole is like. Here's what it's like down here. Here's what it sounds like down here. Here's what the resonance is down here. Not to, I mean, and people, I'm sure everyone is in their own holes in their own way. And I'm realizing that that too is a gift. The hole itself, when I go back to what Monica said about how helpful it is to not only sh- see people's light, but to see that hole that they're in and to have that shared. Um, I'm,
Yeah, we all have the same basic emotional responses. I
mm,
mean, what makes us human and the human
mm.
connection is I feel shame, you feel shame. I feel joy, you feel joy. I feel guilt, you feel guilt. I feel delight, you feel. These are common human affects. And if we get it that okay, I'm feeling shame, but so does everybody else here has felt shame about something too. And there is something about being able to acknowledge it and share it in contained ways that actually is very healing for everyone.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that whether we're resonating to the light that someone shares or whether we're resonating to the shame that someone shares, if we're getting that that is theirs and we can feel empathy rather than being triggered into our own in which there we're separate, then that's the difference. I
Right.
think it's the difference between feeling connected and feeling separate. And Victoria's saying, I mean, I know I'm making that too simple, but and Victoria's saying, I remember you reminding us to find our own unique
Mhm.
gifts in a 5-day challenge a couple of years ago. Yes, that she says that was helpful. You gave me permission to find my own gifts, and I do. I know that when we give something in art, if you can give someone the simple concept, like in the 5-day challenge, the concept is you're following this pattern, which also means that it doesn't have to be that pattern. You are following a pattern. Here's the pattern that I'm giving you. There is such a thing as a pattern. It is a, and it can, and you can follow it. And here's a way you can follow it. And if you can do this, you can do that. And if so,
Mhm.
um, and the whole point is to discover, what can I do fluently right now? I mean, the
Mhm.
point of creating, and it's running literally right now, so people can go join it. The best way is just to go to hipharp.com/challenge, or just go to my website, hipharp.com. Hip is in cool, harp is in the instrument, um, to join it, depending on when you're watching this, but it's live right now as we're doing it. The point of having something so simple is to actually discover where you resonate physically with something,
Mhm.
where you resonate musically with it. And so often we are hearing what somebody else does and trying to fit into it. And I'm just realizing how lucky I was as a child, that whenever I would ask my parents or my grandparents or somebody something about music, they'd be like, "Okay, well, there's middle C, and the other notes are up and the other notes are down. Okay, now go figure the rest out." I would be given only what I need to know, like, "Oh, it goes like this and this and this and this." Okay, all right, go do it. And it was very lucky because that was all I was shown.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
somehow that worked. And that's what I'm trying to do, and Victoria's talking about that, and
Yeah,
I'll
and
pull
you
up
had permission to play. And I
permission to
think
play and permission
permission to play.
right.
It didn't have to be a certain way. There wasn't a standard, so there was no perfection. It was play.
Yeah, right, and we can only be imperfect in comparison
Right.
to something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so I did not grow up with recorded music. It wasn't part of my life. I think we had 4 records, but they were used in
Mhm.
specific ways. I mean, one was how to speak Russian, and, one was, I mean, they were unusual records, and I think that made a difference when we are constantly
Mm.
experiencing music as this highly produced thing, and that is what music is. We can completely lose the connection to that music is that. I mean, or whatever. I mean, that's the beginning of music, and that we can play with it, and that it does come out of play.
Yeah, play. And we're gonna have to stop here in 2 or 3 minutes, but
Oh, right.
yeah, yeah, and Lama's saying she has joined the challenge and uploaded for days, and thank you
Oh,
for sharing your knowledge. Yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah,
I
amazing.
love creating these. I love trying to figure out what is the easiest way to share this particular piece of knowledge or freedom that that
Mhm.
that people are going to get it. And I loved this challenge because there was one moment where I was, let's see, where I was saying to myself, okay, well, there are numbers. I'm like, well, what's going to be the easiest way? Wait, I know, I have a sentence. It's going to be a sentence. Don't get caught anywhere. And that's going to represent this chord progression, and anyone can do it. Like, whether someone had ever played the instrument or not, they could do this. It's an entrance point. It's a way in. Now I'm embarrassed. Okay.
No,
I'm
I think it's
embarrassed.
beautiful. But because you just told us that what got you excited was something that was playful and something that was simple and easy to follow. How beautiful. We think we need to make it complicated and we don't. The
Right,
simple,
because when you can ground in it, it will expand. And for me, it is amazing to go to teach this tiny little thing. And then, like, every little soul must shine. Then I get to see how each person shines. And I watch I see what people are sharing in this challenge. And it's like, wow, you know, whether they're sharing in words or they're sharing in videos, that is how my understanding of music is expanding, is through how people play with this simple idea that I give them,
Yeah.
because it will expand. It is the nature of creativity. Once you can ground in something, once you can do it, you're gonna expand it.
So this can lead us to wrapping this up because when we stand in our light, it expands us. So if you're struggling in an area of your life, whether it's wanting to go perform in a way you used to but haven't recently, or whatever the project is or the
Mm,
relationship is, when we
right.
stand in our light
Mm.
and we're courageous enough to embody the essential that we are, then our light expands and there's forward movement towards life for us.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing and what you're saying, Kathleen, is I have this idea that I have to go and be that thing immediately, and I'm realizing there is practice. I
Mm-hmm.
can practice this. I can practice it with my cat. I can practice it online. I can talk to people about it. I can have fun with it. I can explore it like I would as a child.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you, everybody, Victoria and Laima um, and Monica and everybody else who listens and is here with us either while we're doing this or afterwards. Thank you so much. And Kathleen, what a joy to get to have this conversation expanding and expanding each week.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing all of you again